When you see a lot of stories breaking in the news, think to yourself, it's always got to come from a journalist willing to scratch above the surface and go a little deeper. My next guest has done just that. Cassandra Spencer is joining me now, who was one of the original Veritas whistleblowers on Facebook, and you uncovered several stories, and now you've got a book out that talks about all of that. First, welcome to CPAC 2021.
Thank you. It's been really interesting. My first CPAC was actually 2019 when we debuted my whistleblower story.
Well, let's talk about that. I am fascinated. Of course, we had your leader, or James O'Keefe, former boss on the show yesterday, and I'm just fascinated about how you guys break stories, how you get the information that leads you to breaking stories. So walk me through the process. What is a day in the life of a whistleblower back in the days when you did it for Facebook?
Well, as far as being a whistleblower, obviously I can't give away the secret sauce of Project Veritas
there you
reporting.
Go.
But as far as being a whistleblower goes, I wasn't even looking for anything. I worked as a intellectual property analyst at Facebook, actually. And it was just something where I started noticing odd notes on the accounts of conservative pages. You know, you see an odd note one time.
An internal note?
Internal notes.
Okay, so someone from Facebook would make an internal note.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, engineers were applying what was called a deboost code, and reducing the live feed distribution on the pages of several prominent conservatives, such as like Steven Crowder, Daily Caller, were some of the ones that I saw it appear on.
So in a way, shadow banning is that something?
Yes,
okay.
I would say it's similar to that. It's
okay,
similar.
So you started noticing that. So what next?
So after you notice that it's a pattern, you kind of wonder to yourself, what are you going to do about it, right? Am I going to just sit here and just stay comfortable in my job? Because, you know, I've got a steady job. It's an easy job. I like my job. But there's that part of you that nags in the back of your mind, is this the right thing to do? Because you see something that you know is wrong going on. And so I actually saw a tweet by James O'Keefe where he put in, you know, if you're on the inside of these companies and you see anything, and it listed the tip line, the Veritas tips at protonmail.com tip line. So it was kind of serendipitous, where I then just sent in an email and kind of went from there.
Do you think there's more people that perhaps work for these social media platforms that want to be a whistleblower, but they have fear they're either going to lose their job? Because obviously you stepped out of your comfort zone and you lost your job, I would assume, right?
Yes.
Okay. How many whistleblowers do you think are out there, or people who would be willing to come forward?
I think that there's, you know, all it takes are dozens, or even, I would say dozens is all it takes. Just someone who's in the right position at the right time, who's willing to do the right thing.
Let's talk about your book. It's called Impact: How I Went Behind Enemy Lines. I love that. And of course, a lot of times it is behind enemy lines, right?
Yes.
All right, so walk me through the book.
So we gave the book that title because my original background before I worked at Facebook is I was actually an Army Reserve officer. I worked as the public affairs officer for a military intelligence brigade, and I also grew up amongst the left. So this is kind of telling my story of how that all happened, how I think all my life experiences led me to being a whistleblower and then an undercover journalist, and how growing up amongst the left really made me an effective undercover journalist because I had spent my whole life amongst them. Yeah,
I've talked to a couple of journalists yesterday from Project Veritas, and I said, look, man, thanks to you guys, there's a lot of stories that broke that we wouldn't have known of. I mean, I know the abortion topics was one of the things that I think got a lot of not limelight, but a lot of attention from the media. So what's next? I mean, for you, are you still doing investigative journalism work? Are you independently, or what are you doing?
So my identity actually got leaked to the media last summer, and that's kind of what spurred me to decide that I was going to tell my own story rather than letting these, you know, left-wing outlets smear campaigns.
Drive the narrative on that.
Exactly, because I'm going to tell my story.
Right.
And so what's next for me is I'm actually even considering running for office in Texas, because I think big tech is the biggest threat to our country currently, and it's work that I'm still passionate about doing, and it's a way for me to really continue the work I was doing at Project Veritas, but in a different way, potentially as a legislator.
I think all of us, especially as conservative news outlets, we're always it's top of mind awareness that we could be one sentence away from being completely canceled and deleted off of our platform. So I know it's big tech definitely is your big brother, in other words. Well, I appreciate it. Website for people to kind of get more information about the book, or perhaps order it?
If you go to CassandraSpencerTX.com, you can sign up for the mailing list, and the book is available for pre-order on Amazon.
There you go. Cassandra Spencer, joining us right here at CPAC 2021.